Hello, welcome to the Literary Lounge. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for your interest. We have a wonderful group of ladies tonight. Well, this afternoon. Right?
It takes how long to get started?
Right. So, yes, this is the Literary Lounge, and the goal for the Literary Lounge is to bring out authors to show their literary works, share their hearts, share their work, and to also bring the community out, because there's so many talented people here to encourage people out there to write their books and to get involved and to just have a community where we're all just supporting each other. And that's one reason why we love doing this, and we continue to do it, and we want to keep growing it. So yes, your word, getting the word out is very helpful as well, because we really want to create a group of loving and supportive community. Yes. So, we need that here, yes. I'm Raquel, this is Yannette, and a little bit about me is that, I have my book, I'm an author as well, and last year I wrote my book, Falling Up, The Unstoppable Journey of a Tear. I was a television mouseketeer for Disney, as well as... Thank you. as well as a major label artist. And I talk about my time in the business and growing up, because that was like my childhood, growing up in entertainment and on television. And then I talk about life after that. Like, what happens after? What's happening to these people after? What are they going through? And those different things, and like resilience, overcoming, finding my voice, and being on this journey of life and learning to enjoy it. Because, life's, and how are we going to deal with it and to keep moving forward? So that's a part of my story. I also have a skincare. See, this is the kind of support I'm talking about. This is why we do this, right? Thank y'all so much. And then I started a skincare line while I was in school, because I decided during COVID, what am I going to do with myself? So I decided to go to school and get my degree in computer information systems and business. And so I started a skincare line. It's organic. I've been using it for 10 years. I love it. And it keeps me moisturized. And that's the biggest thing about it. So yeah. And what else do I do? Oh, and then I have a podcast. Yeah. I'm trying to...
Every month we go over this.
Yeah. I'm really trying. My focus this year is definitely on the podcast. I mean, it's been growing. I have about 10,000 listeners per month. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. So I'm really focusing. Thank you. I'm really focusing on that. So it's really my baby. I'm really excited about it and continuing to grow it. So that's what I'm doing. And again, this is why we do this, for community support, right? And so Yannette's going to take the floor and tell you about her.
Not yet.
There's
one more thing that you do that you always forget.
What is that?
Are you not publishing?
Yes, I've started publishing, helping authors get their books out there. It's really, it's hard. It's a lot of work when you're writing. You got it. I'm a creative and I do business, and trying to do both, sometimes it is difficult. And you want to be creative because that's your heart pouring out, and that's where it's at. I mean, that's where the gold is, in the creativity. And then helping people to put their books together, helping them, get it out there to the public, getting it to, I'm going all over it. But you know what publishing involves, because y'all been doing it, right? It involves getting the cover, getting a format, getting it on platforms, getting people to know about it, getting people to hear it. And another reason, that's why we do the Literary Lounge, right? So, yeah, that's what I do. And I'm a singer, too. I
think that's everything that you do.
Yes, and that's all the stuff I do.
How I know you, that's what you do.
That's all me.
Everything.
All right. Take it away, Yannette.
Yeah, you went first.
Yeah.
I am not as interesting, apparently.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Listen, I am not an author. I am actually your local esthetician. I do facials, chemical peels, all that stuff, anything skin. I'm just an avid reader. I just love to read. So when we got together and we came up with this, actually next month will be our 1 year doing this.
I know!
It was just the two of us. We were just like, oh, this will be fun. Never knowing that there were so many local authors in Palm Coast. You guys are like, I'm like, I need to write something.
Yes.
Mike's gonna write something next. He just doesn't know it.
I'll help you get started.
Right.
That's right.
But we appreciate you guys coming out. We also want to thank Mike and Paula because without this space, we could not do this every month.
That's
so,
right.
Mike, we are going to hand it over to you to tell us a goodbye.
My name is Mike Grannon. This is my wife Paula. We opened up our business back in 2020. Right when the virus hit, so we opened this up. The very first week that we opened up, by Wednesday, the airlines are shutting down and the stock market's crashing and all that stuff. So it was a perfect time to open up a business.
Right.
That's a positive.
God is good. He helped us through the entire process of opening. So, but the original vision I had was a place that was focused on health, that was focused on happiness, and that was focused on community. Getting people together, getting people off of these things right here, the cell phones, focusing on interpersonal relationships. We've gotten so far away from engaging and conversing with each other, and I love to provide an environment where people can do that. And so these guys came to me, said, we got this idea, so let's do it. If it's good and it helps the community, we want to be a part of it. So I thank you guys for coming out today, and appreciate y'all.
All right, so for our people who have come months previous, it looks different today. Generally, we have 3 local authors. We set them up in different stages, and they all speak individually. I see some of them here right now.
Coming out to support. Thank you.
But because these ladies, and this is even, is it a half? It's not even a half.
Probably.
A quarter of how many authors are in this book. We decided to do more of a panel and give them this space this time. You can come on in.
Well, there's Marva.
Hello, Miss Mario. No, you have a chair, sweetheart. Oh, thank you. And give them this whole time to speak about themselves. Generally, we do bios for each one. If I did a bio on each one, we'd be here till midnight. Mike has to go home. So I will just introduce, then they will introduce themselves, and they are going to run the show with this time.
Yep.
And even the ones in the audience that's supposed to be up here, yeah, don't look behind you. So this is Seeking Insights for Solutions, otherwise known as SIS, and I will let you guys take it away.
Take it away, ladies.
Oh my gosh, after that introduction.
All of that.
Well, I'm Trish Lynette, co-president.
And I'm Gina Barclay McLaughlin, co-president.
Yeah. So we thought we'd start by giving you a little bit of information about our group. You have before you just a few of our group called SIS, and it's an amazing group of women. We've been together about 5 years. We started when George... Almost 5 years. And
Incredible.
It is. We started when George Floyd was killed by a policeman by Eric Chauvin. And the day that he was killed, Gina and I talked on the phone about it and about how outraged we were that something like that was continuing to happen. And pretty soon we knew 2 other women, 2 white women, 2 black women, got together, 4 of us, at the beginning. What can we do about it? We belonged to the same women's organization in town, so we sort of knew each other on a very, a friendly basis, but that's how we knew each other. And Gina, what can we do about it? We don't have any power. What can we do about this situation? So Gina gave the idea of interviews that we would do cross-racially. The four of us interviewed. We used 8 questions that you came up with.
Yeah, and actually those questions came from my involvement with my students at the University of Michigan and University of Tennessee. And so the questions emerged from that experience. My students got together with me to help us develop this format.
Right. And even though she mentioned the wrong University of Michigan.
Yeah, she went to Michigan.
That's okay, Gina.
But the University of Michigan is what I was talking about.
I know you were.
We go through this all the time.
All the time. So Gina had this great idea. So the four of us tried it out. We had 8 questions that we asked ourselves cross-racially, and we took notes on what the other person was saying. And then the four of us came together with our notes and introduced each other. Even though we knew each other a little bit, we introduced each other. And we thought, wow, maybe this is really the way to go. Getting to know somebody in a much different way than we do just socially. We thought we had something. And when we discussed our findings, we opened up the conversation. And the interviews have to do with how race affects our lives. And women heard about us, and they joined. And now we have 54 members, and almost equally black and white. We wanted to share what we had discovered and what we had discussed as new members came in. They did the interviews too, and we discussed them as a group. And really, that revealed a lot of really painful information, but also it just really deepened our understanding, we felt.
And I think people got so excited learning from each other in the exchange and dialogue.
Yeah.
It just became,
Right.
a growing thing from the larger group.
Right, and how often does that happen? In our day-to-day social realm, how often do we get a chance to do that? So we wanted to spread the word, though. So in 21, we made a video of from the vignettes, some of the life experiences of the women, along with research that we did on housing, economics, healthcare, criminal justice system, and education. And we put that on a video, and the year after that, we had men do the same thing. Men interviewed each other cross-racially, and we produced a second video. And now, we have produced this anthology of our stories. 26 of our members wrote stories for this anthology. And Karen, another wonderful idea from Gina, and Karen took the helm of actually getting it together. So,
Awesome.
Karen.
So I'm just gonna stand. I talk better when I'm standing. So what we did was, Gina had this great idea because she's been in research for so long, and she had already written papers about the questions that we asked and how it affected her students and things like that. So it was just a no-brainer, really, to make it into a book, right? After we already had the video. So Gina and I would chat about that, and I was like, this should really be a book. This should really be a book. This would be a great book. And so, we had no idea if people really wanted to do it. So we had about, quite a few members at that point. And so but we were still part of the other organization. So, but we asked the members in our May meeting, because we usually take the summer off, would be interested in writing a story. And so by September, we had 18 stories already. And we, Jim and I couldn't believe it. We were just so surprised that people really wanted to have an opportunity to write their stories. And they were great stories. I mean, as we were reading them, we were just impressed, one after the other, whether they were poignant or about the excellence that people had to portray to get to where they were in life, because they're all professional women, and a lot of them have been in education, some of us have been in business, some of us have been in, all different kinds of industries, really. And so it's a really, you know, besides being black and white, it's people from before, most of all of us are from before. Sorry. You wouldn't remember this.
She's like tiptoe.
But, you know, we remember before the civil rights movement and before the, and some of us were involved in it.
Wow.
So it was a chance for people to tell their stories and tell the pre and post civil rights movement. And we felt, you know, as Gina did with her students, as a way to get educated about it. Because a lot of the kids today don't realize it, or they don't have the education of it. And we actually were at a book club the other day where a lot of teachers verified that for us, that they really don't get the education of what happened in the civil rights movement, what happened with black people, what happened, you know, even with the Civil War and slavery and things like that. They just are not getting that kind of education. And so we felt it was because, I mean, just for example, there's one, and they're not here today, we have two sisters who both contributed their stories, native Floridians, they just found out when they joined after they joined our group, that their great-great-great-great-grandfather was a senator, yes, a governor of South Carolina, yes, but also a plantation owner. And not only did he have one plantation, he had 4 plantations and many hundreds of slaves. And so for them to get this education themselves, they felt was so important. And so these are the kinds of stories that are in the book. We also have, you know, obviously people whose great-grandparents were slaves and who were indentured servants and things like that. So it's really a history of us, and it's not just Palm Coast, it's Flagler County. But we like to say that we just came together, not by serendipity. There's some reason that we're all together, right? That we all found our way to each other and have created this amazing organization, because what we found is that we can be so close to each other like sisters, that it really makes a big difference in our lives. And how many people can say that when they get older? You know,
Right.
like Tricia's daughters are constantly amazed that she's made so many friends at, you know, at our young ages, right? But it's a blessing for all of us, and so we hope that you'll enjoy the book and hope that you'll enjoy some of the stories that people are going to tell. And so, Pat, do you want to start?
Well, following the opening act here today, it's a little tough here. It is an amazing organization. And like I say, we truly feel like we are sisters. And the one thing that we've also become very aware of is how much we didn't know, we didn't understand. And why didn't we know these things? And this is something that hopefully in reading our book that people will say, I didn't realize that. And they go back to their, you know, families. Because we were at one book club and we had, you know, 7 or 8, you know, women there. And they were talking about, they had read our book, and then they started talking about their own experiences. And then they learned things about, you know, their neighbors, you know, in this, you know, condo complex. And then they started talking, and one of my questions was, you know, would you have been having this conversation among yourselves if you had not read What Colors Me? And they said, no, because that just never, you know, came up. And the other day at the book club meeting down at Halifax Historical Museum in Daytona Beach, one of the members of the book club brought up, she mentioned SIS, and she mentioned the book club, and the book we've written. And then all of a sudden they started talking. She said, so it just a conversation started, very much so.
It is really an amazing experience, and I didn't read the book many times. I know it's going to be a bestseller. It's just amazing to hear us talk, because it's just so wonderful, the stories and the insight. And they mentioned you could read something, so for mine, I just wanted to say this is at the very end. But I listened to speeches by Dr. King in the 60s. Around the 60s. He said he felt blessed to live in an era when people had finally woken up to work together for freedom and economic justice. Obviously, the speeches were aspirational and motivational. We weren't quite there in my experience, but it felt like we were making progress, especially as the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964. He also said that he had seen the promised land, and we as people will get to the promised land. Unfortunately, today, being woke, alert, and informed is often seen in a negative light. But I do believe, and I know others believe, we'll get there if we work together. We must realize that giving opportunities to others doesn't lessen our own opportunities. It benefits all. I am grateful to be a part of a group that is committed to speaking up and working for racial justice and social justice.
My story is a little different. It's really about, oh, I'm sorry. They told me to introduce myself. I'm Earl Jones.
Yes.
And as I was saying, my story is a little different. It's more about self-awareness, learning to love myself. As a black kid growing up in a predominantly white environment, I was really insecure because I was tall, skinny, and black. There wasn't a whole lot of representation for black beauty back then. But it really changed for me when I was exposed to a completely different culture, a different country. And I got to see, boy, not everybody felt the same way about race and people in general. So it helped me to grow and to learn to accept myself for who I am and what I am.
Good afternoon. I'm Jackie Rector. I am originally from Kansas City, Missouri. Go Chiefs. I've lived in Flagler County since 2008. And I want to read just a little bit from my contribution to our anthology Where Colors Meet. And the title of my portion is called Constantly Reminded. I have, for as long as I can remember, been exposed to people of all ethnic backgrounds. It didn't matter to me. I have always spent time with people regardless of their race, culture, religion, or heritage. It was a natural part of my life. And I'm happy I was able to experience this positive aspect during my formative years. I don't recall ever having a conversation about race at any time during my young adult life. But what I do recall is my mother telling me why black people and white people didn't share the same drinking fountain or use the same restrooms. I was very young then, and I really didn't give it much thought. But at this writing, the memory of this brief talk surfaced. When I moved to Flagler County in 2008, it was a job transfer, and I really didn't know much about this area. It was a job transfer, and I was like, count me in. Since then, I've retired and moved to Flagler Beach. And I had two ladies separate occasions. One was had been here all her life, and one had been here 30 years. And they both asked me, just in passing, how did they let you move to Flagler Beach? And I'm like, excuse me? How did they? I said, who is they? So, without taking a lot of time, it's been a real different experience living in Flagler County, living in Flagler Beach. I'm from the Midwest, where people, hi, how you doing? And I don't want to paint everybody with the same brush, because that wouldn't be fair, because I do have great relationships with my neighbors, with other people, but not everybody is accepting of me, not only because I'm a woman, but I'm a woman of color. So it's been different living here. But my story ends, I know I'm here for a reason. It's like we're all here for a reason, and it's been a great experience. So you can read more about my story and share a little bit more about my experiences since moving here in 2008. Thank you.
And I'm Marva Jones.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ditto Jackie's presentation and say that I'm going to read a little bit of what I said in my book, in my chapter. Living in the South. If someone had told me when I was younger that I would someday live in Florida, I would not have believed them. As a black child, I learned early on that the South was no place as we as black people wanted to live. However, I didn't consider Florida a typical southern state when we moved here. Why? Because I'm a Disney nut. So I took my children to Disney several times and when they were growing up, and we always had a great time. But now I'm going to talk about what I've learned since I've been here. If I had come like right now, I probably would not have made that decision because of all the things that are going on here in Florida that are so against what I was brought up and what I believe in, equality for everyone. I found out that Flagler Beach, as Jackie said, is a sundown town, which means that our ancestors as black people were not allowed to be up there after the sun went down. When I got here, I was told, my husband and I were told, don't go up there. They don't like you up there. They don't want us up there. So we didn't go until one evening, one of our friends, Jim Cawley, who is a daredevil, he goes anywhere. He says, I'm going. He goes to he went to the Tea Party meetings. He goes to NASCAR. There's this thing with us as black people that we don't go. We don't go, and we want to go to some concerts. I'm a music nut. I want to go to Phil Collins. I want to go see so many, Dolly Parton, people that I love to go to. I'm afraid to go, not afraid, but I feel out of place. I feel like, I shouldn't go. But that's another story. But I just want to tell you that we have a long way to go. We found out at one of our meetings that one of our white members told us about anti-racism. So we can have all the kumbaya moments that we have right now, insist, but are we willing to then go out among our peers and people that we know and say to them when they say things that are wrong, that's not right. Speak up. That's anti-racism. What are we going to do to fight that? That's very, very hard and very different from just saying, yes, I am not a racist. So that's my contribution.
My name is Lucy Sakala, and I'm from
Can you hear?
Don't get mad.
We want her story.
Okay. My name is Lucy Sakala, and I am from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Okay. My story is about my humble beginning. I grew up in a small village in the Congo, which did not have any modern amenities. And then I came to the United States to look for a better life. Then, in the U.S., I faced a lot of challenges. Usually, what the immigrants face, discrimination, anything. But my emphasize, my lesson, I want people to know that I can do anything when I put my mind to it. And also that we can overcome our challenges if we are determined and persist. the sisters. And you can read my chapter. It is called Can You Imagine? That's all. Thank you.
I have already had a chance to speak, so I'm going to defer to Gina.
Thank you. My name is Gina Barclay McLaughlin, and it's a delight to be here with you, listening and sharing. I had a very interesting experience. My parents believed in the land of opportunity, and they said that every day to us. One day we're going to go to the land of opportunity. And we would say, the land of opportunity. America, they didn't say the United States. They said America. So I later in life said, so isn't Panama a part of the United States? And they said, it's a different country. I said, but it's a part of, it's connected, we're on the same planet. And they were trying to explain, well, you know, as a kid, a young kid, you don't really have that kind of understanding. The other thing is that I went to school, first all-white school, and they made me think that I needed to scrub my skin because it was still dirty. And I was trying to scrub this black off of me because that's what I thought they meant. So there were these things that happened so early that you don't understand as a kid. And so when I went to Chicago, I saw all these black people there. And I was like, what do you mean that you're different? Well, you know, I had an accent and I had all these things that were different, dressed like Panamanians would dress. But that wasn't the United States pattern. So there's so much you can learn when you step out of your comfort zone, when you step out of something that you're used to. And my journey has been one of learning and understanding what contributes to people seeing differences, because we're all human. We're all human beings. We all need to breathe. We all need to walk. We all do all these things the same. And I couldn't understand what is the difference. And then I eventually learned that what color your skin is. I'm like, red? Blue? No. Black and white. So there's just so much that children don't understand. And my brother used to say, unless we become as children are more open to learning, to trying to find out. So this is why I really wanted to see us share our stories, share our experiences. We can be in the same place, the same country, the same, I was an immigrant, but here the people in the same country didn't understand each other. So my goal was to, how can we share and understand each other's background so that we can learn and support each other. This group has been that way, and down through the years, other experiences. And I want us to really communicate that to a current generation. Different is different from how I experience differences, but we still have a long ways to go to understand each other's experience. This is an attempt to share our experiences and to see how people interpret that experience and say, what can we do that is supportive to each other in the process? So I could go on and on and on, but I also want to give credit to my brother. He was the 11th child, and he did the foreword. He was Emmett Till's lawyer, the family Emmett Till. Many of you have heard the Emmett Till story. So as you read each of our stories, I think we did an outstanding job of trying to share how our differences could be shared and understood so that we could be more supported in a knowledgeable way. Because we have to understand each experience is so different.
Yeah.
And I'm just so glad, delighted to be a part of a group that was so open to listening, how people grew up, how they interpret their experiences, and how that contributes to change in a real way. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Yvette Edgehill Spano, and my story is a bit different than many of the stories in the book. My outlook and my observations have to do with Florida legislation from 2023 and 2024, and how those bills and the actions that, if you were ever to go, and this is a pitch for Tally Days, okay? If you ever want to go to Tally Days, go to Tallahassee and actually see how the bills are developed or challenged or approved, even ones that you don't want, such as getting rid of African American history, right? Or such as having monuments, certain monuments taken down or kept up or allowed. And understanding what power that we have as people here in Florida is huge. We just don't recognize it. So and I'm on page 99.
Give ourselves a shout out. I love it.
Page 99, and it was interesting because when Karen first approached me, she said, "But I want you to write about legislation." I said, "Well, about this book." I said, "Well, it doesn't fit the rest of your stories." And then she said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." Next, the committee said, "Oh, we really need to incorporate this from one of the drafts that I had sent in." And so from that, I felt empowered, because there's a different vehicle. This is a different vehicle to get the word out to individuals who may come across, what, there's legislation in here? Yes. And to be able to share what I saw, what I heard, what I know, what was surprising, what was really sad, the things that go on, that our governor makes a decision on, and we don't know about it, because it impacts every single person who lives in this state. Every single person. And because of that, I am so grateful, honored, humbled to be part of Where Colors Meet, because it is about all of us. It isn't just about white or black or wherever. And just so that you know, I grew up listening to, this is the American Army. Not the U.S. Army, the American Army. So everything was American. But and I'm glad I'm I guess the last one to speak. Oh, wait, there's someone else? Okay. So, Mary.
Keeps deferring.
The challenge, and I challenge everyone to, if nothing else, take a look at how your legislature works. We have a channel, and I put that in the book as well, that you could go to and watch them while they're in session. And you can understand the pain that I felt the first time that a individual, and I'm just gonna try and make it quick, he was quadriplegic, and they wanted him to rush, and he was in the chair and he had the computer hooked up to make the point about making sure that they are covered for insurance. And they basically were like, okay. And they voted it down. They voted it down. So we won't move until we feel that pain. Now we have to feel that. So that's all I'm going to say. And so it goes on to Mary.
Yeah, Mary.
Looks like a little bit like the Last Supper. I want to thank everybody for listening, and my story was entitled, I'm Mary Kiernan Ty, The Power of Truth-Telling and Healing. I am a social worker who went through my own process of acknowledging what happened to me and getting to my truth, and then went on to become a social worker, and I wanted to help other people find their truth, their justice, whatever that they were looking for. But also working with people, I find that people rationalize their behavior, they rationalize the behavior of other people, they idealize their family, and yet they're having so many problems with themselves, and so the whole psychological aspect of someone. So then I, in my experience, and just about our country also, in terms of our country, so I compare a little bit about individuals in our country that we have a lot in common. I'll just read a few sentences here. Through my years in the field of social work, I found that an individual's relationship to their own history and our country's history have a lot in common. People have a tendency to deny, minimize, rationalize, lie, exaggerate, and avoid when telling what happened to them when they have been traumatized or done harm to others. People want to bury their own history. Often for many generations, talking about what happened was not something safe to do. I think this happens at a national level as well. At a national level, people want to bury the atrocities and focus on exceptionalism. Exceptionalism shows itself as an idealized version of the United States. For instance, the focus that we were the best, or the best, the greatest, without acknowledging our full history to include our faults and harm done. So one of my experiences with this is that I knew history, but I only knew a little. And then it's becoming like what is one huge American history. And then, because even an experience we had in a meeting the other day, I was so moved because so many women were talking their experiences being black and waking up as black and what that's like to walk around. So it was just like, feels like an honor to like hear people telling the truth and what that feels like for them. Because I feel like that is a beginning, and I don't mean to speak for anybody else, but it's a beginning for me of healing. That when I'm saying, yeah, wow, I'm so glad I know that piece of history or personal history for someone, and then it just grows out from there in terms of way of acknowledging what happened to someone and doing something about it. And then, like someone else has mentioned about speaking up, you know, and experience with a neighbor, and she said something, I didn't want to go into it, but you know, because I have been versed in speaking up to people and saying, no, I don't believe that, and that's not my experience with people. It's just something to, at least we have something to say back to someone. So thanks for being here.
I hope you Gloria Brady is also, she is a member of CIS, and not only a member, but she's our newest member, just joined. We're so happy that you did, Gloria. Too late for this anthology, but next one, right? So I don't know if you wanted to say just a word about CIS and why you joined.
Oh, I mean, when I was Marva invited me to one of the meetings, and I read the mission statement and philosophy in general, and it just got me right there because that's the kind of person I am. I'm a people person, and when we grew up, my mother always said, there are good, bad, and ugly in every race, every vocation, and every avocation. You cannot paint one group with the same brush. And that really set me in that direction, to respect others and to demand respect. In fact, as a classroom teacher for years, I never taught a lesson. I was a mathematics teacher, but I never taught a lesson that first week, although I had to send in plans. But I would tell my administrator, until I teach these students what respect means, what it looks like. We role play. That's how my class ran. Respecting everything. You can't assume people know what it is. Even adults. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity to join you ladies. It's an honor.
It's an honor.
We're honored to have you.
Thank you.
guys. Any questions for our wonderful panel?
Or stories you'd like to share?
Yes.
Experience.
And by the way, our membership is open. Just to let you know.
How many members do you have?
54.
You did say
How long did it take for you guys to put the book together?
So we
There's so many
started.
different things.
So we asked the group if they wanted to first of all do a club, and then we asked for them to submit their copies or drafts, and so that was May of '23 that we asked, and by September of '23 that's when we had 18 stories, and then we asked some of the other members if they'd like to do it, and so one by one people decided to actually contribute to the book, and so then by I guess by January-ish. February, we knew we had like 26 stories, and plus we attended the Shirley Chisholm luncheon that year, and we asked that woman to contribute her speech to the book, and David Nolan from the museum up in St. Augustine, the Cord Museum, also contributed something, and we asked Lindsay Elliott, who couldn't be here today, but she was the head of Habitat for Humanity for like 17 years, and she's now in a different
Over in
place
DeLand.
Yeah, in Polyel. So, and she had the story about the mail, which was, you know, I'll just say briefly, she contributed because I was on one of the committees with her when she was doing this, but in 2016, they realized that there were a bunch of people in Bunnell who were not getting their mail. U.S. mail. They were not getting their mail. And there were a bunch of them. There were like 200 people who weren't getting their mail. Well, they just happened to be black. And they happened to be on the other side, the south side of Bunnell. And the north side was getting their mail just fine. Thank you very much. But the south side wasn't getting their mail. And they would ask to get the mail, and they would say, no, we don't deliver there. Well, you know, come to find out, the postmaster didn't have it in the database, and hadn't been in the database for 60 years, and so they just never wanted to add it to the database. And that was his sole reason for, supposedly, his sole reason for not putting them in the database. Anyway, so Lindsay figured this out and made it her mission, basically. We created a committee, and there were a whole bunch of other, I happened to be part of Kiwanis at that point. We basically got a grant from Lowe's, and they made the mailboxes, and they put the mailboxes in. And I won't ruin the story, but eventually they got mail. But you read Lindsay's story, because it's pretty amazing what happens bureaucratically in the state of Florida, of course, right? You bet. So, yeah. So it's just another, it's a local instance, right, of having to basically buck the system to get what's rightfully yours. It's just crazy. I mean, we were at a thing this morning where we were listening about the returning citizens. Thank you, Mary, who are coming, returning to from jail and wanting to vote. You know, voting's a right. Right. And yet they are having a really hard time getting the right to vote. So, so there are so many instances of this, and we really. And what was the question?
Oh. I don't even know that. Whatever it was, I'm pretty sure you touched on it somewhere. I was like, oh yeah. Question.
I would say from May of 23.
Yeah. Oh yeah. How long?
You know, like spring of 23, and we published it in September of 24. So about, you know, it was probably about 15, 18 months. But you know, one professor who wrote a lovely review for us said, you got it published in how long? Right. His book was taken a year or two.
That's impressive for there to be so many different.
So, well, we had an amazing committee. I was the project manager, so to speak, but we had like 10 women who were all on the committee. A few of them were here, and we basically got it together in terms of editing and marketing and what do we need to do. And, you know, we worked all through the summer editing the book with a professional editor, but you know, it's we got it formatted, and then we got decided on the title, right, and the subtitle, and you know, so somebody had the colors that are on the, you know, so we, so it was really an interesting process, and I'm glad we went through it. I had written a book before, but this was a lot different working with A whole bunch of people, and doing it as an anthology. It's a lot.
Karen, mention how this came about.
The cover?
Tree.
Well, first, Pearl's daughter, Jackie, is a graphic designer, but her daughter, Cadence, actually put it in AI and came up with a kind of a color burst. And we were like, oh, that looks great. And so basically it's the color burst plus then I had the idea that because we wanted to symbolize somehow the black and white, but we didn't want to make it black and white on the cover, right? Because that we weren't sure about that. So we said, how about a tree? How about a tree showing that, we're all from the same root system, basically. We're all from the same ground. We're all unified. We're all here together. And then somebody said, well, why don't we make it into a little heart? It's a little girly, but we all kind of like the heart. And then the designer actually added a few little heart leaves. If you have good eyes, you'll see the little heart leaves. And and it was. We just felt good about that. It just came together, and we kind of liked the way. And the sun, we wanted to show some light there, right? That there's always a sunrise, right? No matter how bad today is, tomorrow's gonna come up again. So it's a it's a little bit philosophical.
And it's our collective effort.
There you go. Definitely. One person came up literally with the title, and then somebody else came up with the subtitle, and it all came together. So.
And I might just add that I don't think Karen got many full night's sleep.
I believe it.
We would literally work on it from what did we say, 3 till 6 every day, and then I would then make all the changes overnight, and then we'd have another meeting, and literally it was every day. For we've heard other authors talk about that kind of process, but it was intense.
Yeah.
A great learning experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna have. Well, Jackie just mentioned Audible, and I'll just say, so just imagine 26 different people wanting to change their stories just a little bit, as they went. Just a little bit. Just a little bit here. Just a little bit there. Is that okay, Karen? Sure. Let me find it. We made all the changes, and I think everybody was pretty happy with their story. So that alone is. I'm really happy about it. And yet we stuck to it because the editor wanted to change a few things, and we would talk about it amongst ourselves, and we'd talk to the author, and then we would decide, do we really want to keep that in or not? Because there were some, just because some of us are younger than others, right? We didn't get all the references, and so it was a learning experience for all of us on the anthology committee too, to go through all this. And so now we have it on paperback. The paperback came out first, came in September, and then the Kindle version came out a month later, and now we're working on, we start recording next Tuesday for our Audible version. So we're happy about that. We're going to do it right while they're broadcasting because these are great. And so we'll be starting a series of, every author is going to read their own story. Which is great, right? So, yes, once we all get over our colds. Maybe do it later in January.
If they don't get the book directly from you, is there Amazon? Where else?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, it's on Amazon. It's on paperback's $12.99. The Kindle is $3.99, and
right. There's a sale going.
Okay. Well, sometimes Amazon has a sale. And then the Audible is whatever it is. I think they're $14.95 or something like that. But most people have credits or
The subscription.
or something like that. So, yeah, and that should be we're shooting for the 60th anniversary of Selma Crossing, which would be on March 6th.
You guys are working fast.
We don't let any, get under our feet. We really wanted this to get out before the election, which it did, We didn't feel like it had, we didn't get as much traction. At that point, there was so much else going on.
Yeah.
Right. But now, we're reaching out to podcasts and for interviews, and hopefully we'll, do a few TV or radio interviews and things like that. So that's our next push for the March Audible version, since that'll be like another launch. We'll try to make hay with that.
Perfect.
Question
Yeah.
Yes, I have a question. I see that you all have on scarves. You know someone's gonna ask this.
It's
So
already-
how did you come about the scarves? And there must be a little story behind that.
It was about,
No, go ahead.
we just thought that because we were showing our videos back a couple of years ago to audiences, we thought it would be good for us to have a way to distinguish us. And actually, we kind of stole the idea from the Shirley Chisholm Trail group, who had scarves. And so we thought, what a good idea, that way that people can come up and ask us questions if we're in a big crowd. So that's how that came about. And we just got together one day, I think it was at my house, and we just looked at the different scarves on Amazon and ordered them. I think it was Holly. You're the one that ordered them.
I think they're very pretty and colorful, and then they're just,
It's their stylish uniform.
One of the biggest challenges to remember.
But we were in Charleston in October. We went there. We were invited by Victoria Murray, who wrote, along with Marie Benedict, the First Ladies, and the personal librarian. And they invited us up because they were interested in what we're doing. And so we wore our scarves. We were out for dinner. Remember that? And people would come up to us and say, "What's that all about?" So, see, it was a good conversation opener. And we were able to tell them, who we were. So.
And almost better than a name tag.
Yeah.
Because Ms. Gina, we wouldn't remember the name tag.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask this lady. Okay, now you say this from the Commonwealth?
Yes.
And how long have you been in the state?
Well, you came when you were.
I came when I was 18 in 1966.
Oh,
So yes, for a long time. So I know I lived here longer than I lived here. Because I left when I was 18.
okay, so where did you go to school here in the state?
What I did was all over the state. Okay, first, when I came, I stayed with the foster family in Iowa City on the farm.
In the winter.
In the winter.
Oh my gosh.
It's very cold there, very, very cold.
Very cold there. So I stayed there for 3 months. And then, because I was already married from back home, so my husband was studying in Nashville, Tennessee. He was studying at Fisk University.
Okay.
So after 3 months with my foster family, I joined my husband in Nashville, Tennessee. And then he graduated from Portugal for his undergraduate study. And when he graduated in 2 years, we moved to Pennsylvania, Penn State. It was cold. And windy. And windy. And she got his PhD there. And then after that, we moved to Connecticut. That's where she got the job. And then that's where, meantime, when he was going to school, I was the breadwinner for the family, person, make ends meet. So I worked while he went to school. So when he finished, got his degree, he got a job, I went back to school. So I worked and then went back to school. That was in Hartford, Connecticut. Then after that, I worked in were in a practice about 33 years. Then it was too cold.
Then it was too cold.
So we decided that we're going to leave the cold up north and then come down to Florida. And we have been here for 14 years in Florida.
Besides the weather here,
Yes.
how were you welcome? How do you feel you were welcome here in the South?
She's like, you gotta read my chapter.
You know, every time I went to store, like I go to store, I'm looking for something, and I always had somebody follow me. That's what I got. You know, somebody comes in, hi, and they will come in, nobody say hi to me. And when I'm looking for things, somebody will always come trying to fix up things here. When I move around the corner, they will come again, try to fix something. So, and the one time I said, I'll call you when I need you.
Right.
That's right.
But when you guys hear like what's happening now, and I know you wrote the book, so you wrote your experiences from, just the civil rights and so on. But when you hear what's happening now, and you know what took place back then, how do you see this now?
I'm shocked that someone believes they can take someone's country from them. I'm still amazed that you could decide, I'm going to take the Panama Canal from you.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed.
Yeah.
It seems like it's getting worse, but in subtle ways.
Yeah.
Like we make improvement, but we really are still standing in a spot that should have moved further faster.
Yeah.
And my family members are really cautious. They're like, don't say everything you feel.
Right,
'Cause
right.
they'll send you right back. And that's what I heard growing up all the time. Don't do this because you'll have to go back.
Yeah.
And we came here for a purpose. We didn't intend to stay this long. No, we did not. We came to take advantage of opportunities
Sure.
like everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though we've been here a certain length of time, you may still feel this fear. And somebody feels they have the power to take away the privilege that you gave your life for.
Wow. Anyone else? Yes, please.
I sort of want to piggyback off of what Gina was saying. I had my brother call me, and he lives in Georgia. He said, Yvette, we want you to know that you have a place to stay when DeSantis builds the wall to make Florida a state, right? That's how some other people see what's happening in this state. That's why, for me, it is critical, important that people know what laws are coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
What laws are, you think that the insurance rates, the rental rates happened overnight? They were working on that. But we don't take the time, and it's no fault of us, because they hide everything. They, the establishment hides things under that basket, so you can't understand what's happening underneath that basket. And it's important, and this is really my plug, that folks become aware of something that's going to happen to you. Legally, lawfully. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, in relation to that Florida, and I didn't know this originally when I moved down here 15 years ago, that the entire state of Florida is under border control of the border patrol, because of the 100-mile rule, where 100 miles from the west coast and 100 miles from the east coast is considered under border patrol control. And we are hiring Border Patrol people and training Border Patrol people in large numbers. And that scares the hell out of me.
The first year was approximately $12 million that the state spent of taxpayer dollars to recruit in individuals under the guise of disaster aid, folks who were going to do disaster and help. Others started calling it, and I'm going to sort of couch the words a little bit. They say now DeSantis has a militia, right? And the cost has cost even, you can quadruple the amount of millions of dollars to train, to house, to, establish where these individuals are going to be doing what they're doing. That's one of the things. We may be a border, but I think it's a little bit more than that nowadays. But if you're unaware, you look up one day and say, uh-oh, I can't go to this place because I don't have my proper identification.
Yikes.
Do you know that we had to have identification in different areas? When I was coming up as a child, you couldn't go to Hialeah without having an ID in Hialeah. You couldn't go to Miami Beach without having identification to Miami Beach. You couldn't go to North Miami Beach without having an ID. I grew up in the 60s, and I went to school in the 60s. I lived in Miami. My mother worked in Miami as a domestic maid. And this is what happened. I have some of her identifications now that shows that she had to have ID. And when I became a nurse, I had to have ID for Hialeah, for Miami Beach. Yeah.
Just to visit?
Or to work? No, to work.
To do
To
anything.
work. And also to even cross over that area. My husband went to Vietnam. He came back. He couldn't get a job. So he worked on Miami Beach. And he was stopped by the police because the bus, when he got off of work, the buses were finished for the evening. He walked from Miami Beach to the inner city. And the police stopped him. And his sister had to come and get him because all he had just got him. All he had was his papers from the U.S. Army.
Oh my God.
Okay, now, that was a long walk. He had to walk across from one inland over to the other inland and cross Biscayne Bay. Okay, it used to be a store there. That's where the Miami Herald was and where the famous George Marsh was. Exclusive store. And it was a horrible experience for him.
How many white people were stopped and asked for their ID to go from Miami Beach to Hialeah?
I have no idea how many, but I know
Probably zero.
we as blacks had to have ID.
That's what I mean, it was just for blacks, not for white.
Right.
I know for us, we had to have it. I don't know what white people had to have.
My guess is
I was
Nothing.
not any.
kids, actually a young girl, what, about 17, 16, 17 years old, 18, something like that. But I do remember, and I do recall my mother, when I was younger, that she had to have ID. Or else, you go to jail.
Look up the Florida Channel. Google it, Florida Channel. The legislative session for 2025 begins March 4th and the party begins. What Representative Jasmine Crockett says, buckle up, buttercup.
Okay.
My goodness. All right.
I believe you had a question
Uh-oh.
earlier. You
Oh, yeah,
raised your
sir.
hand earlier.
Here.
I'm more of a comment than a question. I'm amazed that I'm in my 83 years on this earth, I have seen so many changes. So when I went into the military, that's my first experience with racism. I was for everything under the sun. And my superiors, I would report to them, I said, just let it go. So I tell you, good, well, I can't say I'm not good, bad, and ugly. But I see good, I've seen it bad, and now I'm seeing it ugly. And I'll be 84 this year. So, I mean, it's just, I cannot believe this. And I'm so glad I came here to listen to you ladies. Everyone has a story to tell. And I can be with a group of men and we will not talk about what's going on. It takes a female to tell us how we can survive in this world. Now, I have a friend, she lives in a condo. And I would go out there, we would go out to dinner. And I took her to, we went out to dinner and I took her home. So she called me the next day and she said, Brian, guess what? I said, what? I had a visitor. And they came to my door and asked me, well, who's that man bringing you home? Oh. And so she told me. I said, is he a nice guy? She said, he's a fabulous guy. Where's he from? He's from Ohio. Where does he live? Does he have his own house? She said, why are you asking about this question? She said, wait a minute. Before you ask me another question, get out of my house. I've seen it all.
And that's recently, right? You're not talking 50 years ago, you're talking recently.
This year. I mean, she called me, this is about 2 weeks ago. Born in so she had dual citizenship. She
But now this is the lady asking the questions? What was the lady that asked
They
the
have an
questions?
association, so when I take her.
So was that associate, that lady from the association, she was white,
Yeah.
that asked her these questions? Okay, that's what she was talking about.
Yeah, but the lady you were out with was white.
Yeah, later.
Okay.
Yeah,
Talk about nosy neighbors.
Listen here, friend.
Right. She gave her too many answers. The first question, actually. That'd be great. She was trying to be nice.
Too many questions and too many.
It's not nice to be nice.
Too many questions and you're getting personal now.
It's an interview.
Yeah. When I take her home.
I'm really glad I came.
You pointed to
Thank you, ladies, so much for coming. Thank you for sharing your story. Where colors meet. Seriously. Get it on Amazon. You can get it today. And you can get it today. Thank you all so much.
And they will sign.
Closing now.
And it's a wonderful gift. That's what we've been doing. Getting for Christmas and so forth. So it's a wonderful gift. Everyone we gave gifts to in my family passed it on to someone else and called me back for more. So it's a great gift. People who read it have enjoyed it. And so I encourage you to make that.
I purchased mine and I'm getting my daughter her own today because she can't have mine.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if you do buy it and enjoy it, please, we would be most grateful if you would go on to Amazon.
Yes.
And put a review on it, because it does help us in the rankings.
Right,
So,
right.
thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.